This building should not exist. 3 skyscrapers, leaning toward each other like they're about to fall, and balancing on top of them a 1,100-foot platform with a swimming pool hanging 650 feet in the air. Now tilt all 3 of them, leaning inward toward each other, like they're slowly falling in slow motion. And then, balance that 100-foot-long platform across the top of all 3. Flat, horizontal, suspended in the air, like a surfboard floating above a city. And on top of that platform, a swimming pool, 650 feet in the air. The largest rooftop infinity pool on Earth. Somehow, this impossible structure was actually built, and it turned Singapore into one of the most recognizable skylines on Earth. And right now, someone is about to spend $8 billion to make it even bigger. Here's the thing though, not everyone thinks that's a good idea. But here's the strange part. If this building is already one of the most successful resorts on Earth, why spend another $8 billion expanding it? To answer that, you have to go back to the early 2000s and understand what Singapore was, and what it wasn't. Singapore's problem. In the early 2000s, Singapore had money, banks, and global companies, but it had one big problem. Tourists weren't staying. People came for business, and left. Not the way Hong Kong had tourists. Not the way Bangkok had them. Singapore was a layover, not a destination. The government knew that to compete at the highest level, being a financial hub wasn't enough. They needed something that made people want to come, stay, spend money, and come back. They needed an icon. In 2006, the Singapore government handed the contract to Las Vegas Sands Corporation, the same company behind some of the biggest resort casinos in the world. Their brief was essentially, build something on the Marina Bay waterfront that the entire world will recognize. The architect chosen for the job was Moshe Safdie, a man whose entire career had been built around designing buildings that looked like they shouldn't be able to stand up. And the design he came back with, when engineers first saw the sketches, their reaction was pretty much unanimous. This thing won't stand. Ground didn't even exist. The land it's built on was once the bottom of the ocean. Singapore has been reclaiming land from the sea since the 1970s. They pump sand fill into the water, build barriers to hold it in place, and over decades create new land. It's one of the most ambitious land creation programs in history. And this newly created land, soft, unstable, essentially compressed ocean floor, is exactly what 3 55-story skyscrapers were going to be built on. Engineers had a serious problem on their hands before a single floor even went up. Most people see photos of Marina Bay Sands and think, cool hotel. That's like looking at New York City and saying, cool street. Marina Bay Sands isn't a hotel. It's an entire city district compressed into one complex. Let's run through the numbers, and I'll put these in terms that actually make sense. 929,000 square meters of total area. That's more than twice the size of Disneyland in California. Or if you want a different way to picture it, 30 football fields, all inside a single development. 1,850 hotel rooms and suites. A casino with a 161,000 square foot gaming floor. A luxury shopping mall at 797,000 square feet, with actual canals running through it. A 1.3 million square foot convention and expo center. 2 large theaters, dozens of high-end restaurants, an entire art museum. And that art science museum is worth pausing on. It's shaped like a giant lotus flower, and it genuinely looks like it landed there from a different planet. When Marina Bay Sands opened in 2010, it was the most expensive standalone casino resort ever built. $5.7 billion at the time. That's roughly $8.5 billion in today's dollars. Forbes has called it likely the most profitable casino in the world. The CEO of Las Vegas Sands called it the most successful resort in history. 45 million visitors every year. In March 2025, they hit their 500 millionth visitor. Net revenue in 2024, $4.23 billion. It's estimated to contribute between 1.5 and 2.7% of Singapore's entire GDP from one building complex. Oh, and it appears in Mario Kart, the Singapore Speedway track. Somebody at Nintendo looked around the world and said, what's the most recognizable building right now? And the answer was Marina Bay Sands. So here's the question that should be driving you crazy right now. If it's this successful, why on earth would you change it? Before we talk about the expansion, we need to talk about how this building is even standing. Because when Safdie's design hit the engineers' desks, they had to solve 3 massive problems. Problem 1. The ground. Reclaimed land is not stable ground. It settles. It shifts. Building a skyscraper on it is like building on a giant sponge. The solution: 5,000 piles, steel and concrete columns, driven 160 feet into the earth to reach solid bedrock. Without those piles, these towers wouldn't just crack, they would slowly sink into the ground. And this isn't just history. It directly connects to a risk that exists right now. We'll come back to it. Problem 2. The lean. The 3 towers lean inward by up to 26 degrees. In a normal skyscraper, the main enemy is wind. Here, the main enemy was gravity itself. These towers were leaning so far that their own weight was trying to pull them into each other. Engineers used reinforced concrete shear walls, nearly 28 inches thick at the base, and massive steel trusses to tie everything together. The margin for error was essentially zero. Problem 3. The sky park. This is the part that still blows structural engineers' minds. 1,100 feet long, over 7,700 tons of steel, and it extends 220 feet beyond the edge of the last tower, a cantilever hanging in open air with nothing below it. That cantilever alone is longer than the Eiffel Tower is wide at its base. To build it, engineers prefabricated 14 massive segments off-site, floated them in on barges, then hoisted them 650 feet into the air. Some lifts ran overnight to avoid wind. At that height, a single gust could destabilize a segment weighing hundreds of tons. Each piece welded into place, millimeter-level precision. And that infinity pool? It's not just a pool, it's an active engineering system. The towers below it are constantly moving. Thermal expansion, wind sway, concrete creep. The sky park itself can shift 3/4 of an inch in a single day, so the pool is divided into 3 sections with expansion joints. 500 hydraulic jacks underneath constantly adjust to keep the water perfectly level. Hidden pumps manage the balance continuously. Without all of that, the pool would crack, or worse. Marina Bay Sands is one of the greatest feats of structural engineering in modern history, and the team that built it is now about to do it again, on the same reclaimed land, with an even more ambitious design. Let me show you something that happened in San Francisco. The Millennium Tower, a luxury residential skyscraper that opened in 2009. Beautiful building, premium location, high-end finishes. Today, it has sunk over 2 feet into the ground, and it's still sinking. It's tilted roughly 14 inches off vertical. It's still occupied. The reason it's sinking? It was built on soft soil and landfill, and the foundation piles didn't reach down to solid bedrock. Now look at where Marina Bay Sands is sitting. Same type of ground, reclaimed land, ocean floor that was converted to buildable real estate. So why isn't Marina Bay Sands doing the same thing? 2 reasons. First, the foundation work was far more aggressive. The Millennium Tower's piles went about 80 feet into the ground and stopped in sand. Marina Bay Sands went 160 feet, nearly twice as deep, all the way to solid bedrock. Second, continuous structural monitoring has been in place since construction. Every movement, every millimeter of settlement is tracked. The engineers anticipated this problem. They built for it. But here's the new variable: climate change. Singapore sits barely above sea level. Government projections suggest sea levels in the region could rise by over 3 feet by 2100. Reclaimed land already close to sea level becomes increasingly exposed to flooding risk, storm surge, and soil saturation over time. The new tower, IR2, is being built on the same reclaimed coastal land. This means the engineering team isn't just solving structural loads and design challenges. They're modeling 50 to 100-year climate scenarios and building for a future that looks significantly different from today. So this $8 billion expansion isn't just a luxury bet. It's also an engineering statement. Singapore is confident enough in its ability to solve these problems that it's willing to double down on the same waterfront. Which brings us back to the obvious question: why is this expansion happening right now? In 2024, Las Vegas Sands missed analysts' expectations for quarterly profit. One of the key culprits? Lower than expected per-table gaming revenue in Singapore. People were coming to Marina Bay Sands. They were spending, but not at the level the company needed. The solution they landed on wasn't get more visitors, it was get fewer visitors who spend a lot more. Then something changed after the pandemic. The super rich came back to travel faster than everyone else, and they were spending more than ever. Post-pandemic, the gap between wealthy travelers and ultra-wealthy travelers widened dramatically. Private jet passengers, guests who don't look at price tags. They came back first, spent most, and kept spending. The math changed. 570 high-end suites generating premium revenue beats 1,000 standard rooms every time. Singapore isn't making this move in a vacuum. The race for Asia's luxury tourism crown is intense. Dubai opened Atlantis, the Royal in 2023, $1.5 billion, ultra-exclusive, went viral before it even opened. Singapore watched that happen and decided to respond. Galaxy Macau's Phase 3 and 4 expansion, up to $6.4 billion. Bangkok, Hong Kong, and even lesser-known markets are all investing aggressively in premium tourism infrastructure. Singapore's response, $8 billion. Outspend everyone. IR2, short for Integrated Resort 2, won't just be a hotel tower attached to the existing complex. It's being positioned as a standalone destination. 55 stories, 570 luxury suites, including 23 units called mansions, private residences within a hotel so large they don't really fit the word suite. Its own separate casino, its own version of the Sky Park, called the Sky Loop, 2 boomerang-shaped observation decks curving in opposite directions, layered with individually lit panels that glow at night, and a 15,000-seat entertainment arena, designed by the same architecture firm behind the Las Vegas Sphere. This isn't an addition to Marina Bay Sands. It's a second resort built right next to the first, connected but designed to stand completely on its own. And the man brought in to design it, Moshe Safdie, the same architect who designed the original Marina Bay Sands, because the Singapore government gave him a very specific instruction. When Safdie was brought on to design IR2, the Singapore government, specifically the Urban Redevelopment Authority, reportedly gave him a clear warning. According to CNN, they told him, "This is our icon. Our people love this. We cannot do anything that is going to compromise it." Safdie acknowledged the pressure directly. He said his team had to find a way to create something with its own identity, while still being very complementary. In his original 2019 design, the fourth tower stood right next to the other 3. He walked that back, decided it was too much. The final design places IR2 further away from the original 3 towers, with the 15,000-seat arena sitting between them as a kind of visual bridge. Safdie designed IR2 to look like it belongs to the same family as the original 3. Then came July 15, 2025. The groundbreaking ceremony. Singapore's Prime Minister Lawrence Wong on stage with Safdie. When the design went public, the internet went wild. Why do people get so emotional about a building? Because Marina Bay Sands isn't just a building to Singaporeans, it's on their currency. It's in their video games. It's what people around the world picture when they picture Singapore. It has become identity, a physical symbol of what the country achieved. When you touch someone's icon, you're not touching architecture. You're touching something they're emotionally invested in. And the symmetry thing is real. 3 towers have a visual completeness. A 4th breaks the pattern. It takes something that felt resolved and makes it feel unfinished, or worse, like something was added that doesn't belong. Safdie pushed back on the criticism. His response: "When it's all said and done, people will feel it's always been there." He's not wrong to be confident. The Eiffel Tower was almost universally hated when it was proposed. Parisians called it an eyesore, a blot on the skyline, a giant metal embarrassment. The Sydney Opera House faced years of controversy, cost overruns, political scandal, and public skepticism before it became the most recognized building in Australia. Both are now national symbols so beloved that most people can't imagine the cities without them. So will IR2 follow the same arc? Or will it genuinely damage what makes Marina Bay Sands special? IR2 is scheduled to open in January 2031. Construction is underway. The groundbreaking has happened. The $8 billion is committed. But this story isn't really about one building. It's about a pattern. Post-pandemic, the world's most ambitious urban developments have all made the same pivot: go ultra-luxury. Fewer guests, higher spend, exclusive experiences. Cut out the middle and compete at the very top. Singapore is just doing it more visibly, more expensively, and more publicly than anyone else. The Prime Minister's Greater Southern Waterfront Plan, the mega development of which IR2 is just one piece, will eventually reshape 6 times the area of Marina Bay itself. Singapore isn't just expanding a resort, it's redesigning its entire southern coastline for the next century. And here's the question that project raises, the one worth sitting with. When a city designs itself for the ultra-wealthy, who is it actually for? Singapore has always balanced its role as a global financial hub with being a livable, functional city for the people who actually live there. This expansion, and the broader waterfront strategy behind it, tests that balance, not for the first time, and probably not for the last. What we're watching with Marina Bay Sands IR2 is a preview of what the world's most ambitious cities are going to look like over the next 20 years. More engineering, more scale, more debate about who it's actually serving. If it succeeds, it'll be proof that you can literally build the future on nothing. And if it doesn't, well, San Francisco already showed us what that looks like. So, I want to know what you think. Does IR2 belong next to Marina Bay Sands? Or is adding a fourth tower a mistake that will haunt Singapore's skyline for the next 100 years? Drop your take in the comments. I read every single one. And if the Millennium Tower caught your attention, a luxury skyscraper that's actively sinking into the ground right now, and the people living inside it can't stop it, that full story is right here. If you want more deep dives like this, hit like, press the subscribe button, and join me for the next investigation. Thanks for watching.